Greetings from the witch house to all devotees of the disturbing, connoisseurs of the creepy, and aficionados of the awful. I am your host, Dr. Gallo. Join me tonight for another original tale of terror, and subscribe for more of the same. Now, on with the frights.
It was a little before 8 p.m., and the two of them stood at the garden gate, looking down the path toward the house. The porch light was on, and there was a pumpkin at the top of the steps by the front door. It had been carved to look like a cat's face, complete with 3 fat whiskers on either side of the upside-down letter M that formed its mouth. Above that, its heart-shaped nose, and above that, 2 slitted eyes that glowed yellow from the candle inside. "Hey, it's me!" said Kimberly excitedly, pointing at the pumpkin. She was dressed as a black cat herself and had done as good a job on the costume as could be expected of a 7-year-old. Black eyeliner whiskers and blackened nose, black top and leggings. A hairband with kitty ears sticking out of it. Her big sister Roxanne had helped put some of the finishing touches to it too. Kim wasn't allowed to play with the needles in the sewing box, so the tail that dangled behind her had been all her sister's work. "I think that one looks more like you," said Roxy, gesturing to another pumpkin on the porch next door. It had been carved to look like some kind of zombie with huge eyes and uneven teeth in its mouth. The eye and mouth holes were dark, as the candle inside had gone out. "Well," started Kim, but stopped immediately to think. "As soon as we get home, I'm gonna carve one into a butt face and call it Roxy." Roxy's mouth fell wide in faux outrage, and then neither could help but giggle uncontrollably. Then, after a moment, another voice joined in, a rasping cackle. The girls looked at each other and abruptly stopped laughing, as did the other voice. "Did you hear that?" asked Kim, fearfully. Roxy looked around but couldn't see anyone else on the street. For the sake of her sister's peace of mind, she lied. "No, don't be silly. There's nothing to hear." "Liar," said Kim, then seemed to immediately forget the whole thing. "Shall we go up to the kitty pumpkin?" Roxy was still scanning the surrounding houses. That laugh hadn't just been loud, it had sounded off. She really didn't want to stay here. "No, Boo, it's getting late. Let's head back home and check our haul." "It's not getting late, and we're still on our street. I can see our house from here," she said, pointing down the road. She wasn't wrong, but Carneymount Street was pretty long for a small town. They could see their house. Just. "It's late enough. Nobody else is out here." "Because they're scared of the haunted house." "It's not haunted." "I know it's not. A ghost couldn't carve a cat pumpkin, could it?" Roxy sighed. Of course it wasn't haunted. Everyone knew it wasn't, but everyone acted like it was. It was old and creepy looking, presumed empty for as long as anyone could remember, and the one they all loved to imagine was floor to ceiling with spooks and ghouls. They dared one another to run into the garden to fetch their errant footballs and frisbees. They egged each other on to run up the stairs to the front door and knock on it, only for the terrified adventurer to run as fast as they could back down and out of the gate, breathless and panicked. Even at the height of summer, when the night had retreated as far as it could, and the evenings brought that sweet balm of cut grass and flowered trees to the air, it had to be a dare. Even while the sun was shining, nobody messed around in there without a good reason, because they all knew it was haunted. But of course, deep down, they knew it wasn't. Roxy thought about the laugh again, then wondered who had carved that pumpkin, since nobody lived there. She looked at Kim with a half smile and told her it was time to go. Her little sister looked down at the ground and held her hand up, resigned to be led away, when there was a loud creak from behind them. They turned, slowly, to look up at the now open door to the house. An old woman's head was craned around it, peering at them. She was smiling.
"Won't you come on up, girls? Plenty of treats for you both."
Her voice was croaky, and they realized it as the same one that had laughed along with them but moments before. She sounded a bit like their Aunt Bev, who Mom hated coming over because even though she went outside to smoke, she left the door open enough for it all to blow back in and stink up their hallway. "We're just about to get on our way, ma'am," Roxy called up. "It's getting late and—"
"No, it isn't. I just told you,"
squealed Kim.
"It's not late at all."
The old woman looked a little sad.
"Big sister knows best, sweetie. If she says it's time to go, you should go. Always listen to your big sister. Isn't that right?"
Roxy felt bad. Kim looked glum, and now so did their new friend. "I guess you haven't had many kids come around here tonight, huh?" she ventured, and the old woman shook her head sadly.
"Nobody comes around much at all these days.
They say it's haunted, you know, their house." She laughed that throaty laugh again, but it didn't sound so scary this time.
I'm sure they do. Aren't all houses a little haunted, though? Oh, please, won't you come on up just for a minute? I have treats. I hope so much to have some children brighten my doorstep, if only for tonight."
"Please, Roxy," her sister begged. "Look how lonely she is." Roxy looked down at Kim, back up at the woman, then down at Kim again, and her expression softened a little. "One treat. Grab it, and we're gone, okay?" Kim nodded eagerly and started pulling Roxy toward the house. When they arrived at the top of the stairs, the woman asked them to hold on for a moment while she fetched a basket of candy before disappearing behind and closing the door. A couple of minutes later, it opened wide and she reappeared before them, holding the basket, made of wicker and full sweets, before her in one hand. Suddenly, the smell that emanated from the darkness behind the woman hit the girls with almost physical intensity. Roxy managed to keep her composure, but Kim coughed and put a hand over her mouth and nose. It smelled like someone had left a bowl of fruit so long that the apples had dried brown and the oranges were leaking and fuzzy with blue mold.
"Sorry about that, honey," the woman said. "The house has been empty for so long, I'm still letting the air in. I thought mildew only grew in bathrooms."
"You have a lovely home, ma'am," said Roxy. Kim made a noise but said nothing.
"You're sweet." "Now, how would you like one of these?" she asked, holding up the wicker basket in front of them. It was full to the brim with all kinds of neat stuff. Some of it neither of them had ever seen before. How can I choose just one?" asked Kim, wide-eyed. Go on and grab a handful, Kim.
encouraged the woman, smiling a little wider. Kim smiled too and raised her hand, only for Roxy to grab her wrist so fast and firmly it made a slapping sound. Her arm came to a stop just before her hand went over the threshold of the door frame. Roxy looked at the woman. "How do you know her name?" she asked. The woman said nothing, her grin fading as she watched the girls. She had begun to sway very slightly. Roxy's eyes glanced downward toward the floor and widened in fear. She grabbed Kim's wrist tighter and started to pull her away from the door. "Come on, Boo."
What's going on? Where are we going?
Roxy just carried on backing away, and Kim, for all her words of protest, wasn't resisting. She knew something was wrong too. They made it back to the gate and the woman didn't follow. She didn't even move past the door frame. She just stood there holding the basket. She was grinning again now, but in a way that chilled Roxy to her bones. Her lips were drawn back to reveal her stained, yellowing teeth, but her burning eyes and furrowed brow betrayed the wickedness behind the smile. It wasn't just fake. It was a trap, and they'd nearly sprung it. Roxy heard Kim make a small, scared sound as they stumbled backwards and knew that she now understood. As they gripped each other's arms tightly, they turned and ran, leaving the house and the old woman behind them. When Roxy glanced back, the old woman was still there, and her feet were still not touching the floor.